So, the Touhou Media Wiki, crowned the okayest source of Touhou information for English fans. It's been bringing us only the most quality content since 2006, not 1998. Dumb fuck. But while the Media Wiki is generally considered the go-to for finding information about the Touhou project, it is far from the only website documenting the series. Spread all around the internet are repositories of Touhou information created and maintained by fans of all types. Enter Fandom.com, the place where anyone can make and edit a wiki. It is also a shining example of why personal freedom is a bad thing. Now, while some of the Fandom.com Touhou wikis are bad, some of them are actually significantly worse. So this is a bit of an overview on the best and worst of the unofficial Touhou wikis. Now, what I'm not going to go over are wikis for fan works like the Touhou Lost Word Wiki, the Yukuri Wiki, or the Cookie Wiki. I'm also not going to be going over any theoretical wiki pages like the Dream Fiction Wiki, which has nothing to do with the project itself. For this, I'll only be looking at wikis that discuss at least some official Touhou content. Oh, and one final thing. I'm embarrassed that I feel the need to say this, but don't graffiti on any of these wikis. Like them or not, they are made purely for passion, not for profit or popularity. So live and let live, and consider contributing if you can. Anyways, let's kick off the party. First on the chopping block is simply the Touhou Wiki on Fandom.com. This is the most comprehensive of the wikis on this list with a whopping 7,531 pages. But even with that, it still has a ton of gaps of information. Even 3 years into the release of Touhou 17, the page for Keiki still has fewer than half the words on the About Us page of the Good Sense website. It also has a lot of fan-in and misconceptions of characters, especially in the relationship section. The page for Moku says that Kaguya is her bitter enemy, which is about as brain-dead of an analysis as saying that Fooly Cooly is a show about cool robot fights. There is also just a lot of missing information, like the page for Mahoyiga, which does not mention the enormous population of cats that Chen keeps putting there for some fucking reason. Which is, objectively speaking, the most important detail. So if you really need a place to look up Touhou information, and you have no access to a better wiki, then Fandom.com is definitely there for you, being the best of the worst. We can only go down from here. Now, there are definitely some wikis that have a real purpose and can be a good source of information. The Hiso Tensoku Fandom Wiki is not one of those. Ignoring the fact that the Hiso Tensoku Komakon Wiki already exists and is leagues better, the Hiso Tensoku Fandom Wiki is just a bunch of nothing. A lot of the tables are just empty, leaving out things like damage and proration. It also doesn't include hitboxes or frame data, so it's pretty much useless as a fighting game wiki. The Komakon Wiki is considerably better, as it includes full breakdowns of every character and their kits. It isn't a Mizumi wiki, so I can't give it full credit, but it is very good. What I can give full credit is the wiki for Immaterial and Missing Power, which is a Mizumi wiki. It's got a bunch of full tables of data, and it's overall a really full source of information. But that's alright, we don't even need wikis for fighting games. Just join my Discord server. Have fun getting 1,000 welcome pings, going through 3 different rules channels just to get the role to see any channels, then sifting through hundreds of channels and pins, all the while getting a slew of notifications because you haven't had a chance to mute the server yet, all just so you can find the frame data on a single attack, right? This is the future of fighting game wikis, woo! Something weird I came across while looking up Touhou on Fandom is a smaller wiki called Touhou Anime. Now, from the name alone, you might think that it's a wiki for the Touhou fan shows like Memories of Phantasm or Summer Days Dream. But no, it's just another Touhou project wiki. I think? It only has 36 pages and they are horrendous. The home page has this image that makes my eyes bleed and it has about as many capitals as Switzerland. There are very few pages on the wiki, but all of them are shockingly detailed, including translation of all the official profiles of the character. At first you might be impressed, like a father looking down at his son's DeviantArt page and admonishing his skill and talent. But then, like that father, you realize that everything here is just copied from somewhere else, and the final drop of respect drains away. I genuinely don't understand why this website exists. Why is there so much stolen art? Why is there a picture of Touhou footballers on the home page? Why is there a category titled Females with only 2 characters in it? The creator clearly knows that a better fandom wiki exists since it's where they copy everything from. No sources are cited on anything. The few original lines are written disgustingly. This is just terrible. But it exists, nonetheless. Perhaps it exists to spite me, in which case, bravo on your quest to make me slightly annoyed. You've gone above and beyond the call of duty. Now, the Touhou Anime Wiki may have been a bit of a mystery, but the Touhou Insiders Wiki knows exactly what it is. I feel the opening paragraph on the homepage tells you everything you need to know. You all know Touhou information from Touhou Wiki. What if you want to get deep into Touhou characters, lives, like for instance Alice's and Marissa relationship toward each other? I suggest you check this out. Jesus Christ, I can feel my brain tripping out the back of my skull after reading that. So apparently this wiki was just made by some smarmy smuck who thought that the Touhou Fandom Wiki was inadequate, so they decided to make their own wiki diving deep into Touhou lore. That is to say that they made fewer than 100 pages and most of them are just explaining Touhou shitposts. It's genuinely hard to tell what is fanon and what isn't here, and in fact I'm more inclined to believe that everything written here is fanon and the creator doesn't actually know a goddamn thing about Touhou. But through the cosmic power of 1,000 monkeys and typewriters, they managed to actually write some things that are accurate. But those few anomalies are about the only good things I have to say about this website. Other than that, the website makes me want to ingest glass. The website uses Nihon Shoki romanization, except when it doesn't. None of the links work, meaning some pages that are made entirely to share a single video are completely useless. The wiki may have far more pages than the Touhou Anime Wiki, but it actually has far less information, because nearly all the pages are fucking blank. Out of 98 pages, only 3 of them actually have any text. It doesn't even explain the relationship between Alice and Marissa mentioned on the home page. That page is blank. The formatting, the run-on sentences, the pages with default Fandom Wiki text is still there. The empty pages, this website is terrible. I can at least understand why this wiki exists, but it is so poorly managed and pretentious that I could never imagine browsing this for any reason other than to make fun of it. But hey, at least we also know that Han is also married. He couldn't be allowed to live. Okay, so remember how I said we wouldn't go into fangame wikis? Well, I did come across 2 that are just too good to leave out. First of the 2 is titled Touhou Visual Novel Wiki, which isn't a list of popular Touhou visual novels. It is just one game, I think? It is incredibly detailed, containing full text documentation of what seems to be most of the game. So I suppose if you don't want to play the game, you could just scrape the wiki to get the story. You know, like how most Touhou fans ingest the story of Touhou. I briefly looked over the story and I ended up with far more questions than answers. It's got some wacky lore, I do recommend checking it out. It even has a considerable amount of code documentation, leading me to believe that this wiki is actually maintained by the game's creator. There are a lot of development screenshots as well, and while the game certainly doesn't look finished or polished to any extent, it looks like it has some promise. The one thing that kinda burns me up is that with all of this documentation, there isn't a link to where you can play the game. In fact, I almost think it'd be easier to reverse engineer the game using the Ren'Py code provided in the wiki than to try and scour the internet for a game simply titled Touhou, the visual novel. I'm sure it's out there, but I can't be bothered to find it myself. The other fan game I want to go over is actually a mod of an existing game that has been extensively developed. It's called Gensokyo Warfare, and it seems to be a rather comprehensive overhaul for Mount & Blade Warband. It adds a slew of Touhou characters to the game as NPCs, an original Touhou soundtrack, new missions and stories, and even marriage mechanics, I think. I don't really know how Mount & Blade works as a game, so I'm sure someone else could explain it better than myself. But I have a massive amount of respect for the amount of talent and passion that has gone into making this mod. It was originally 2 separate mods, Touhou Tinder and Touhou Origins, both of which date back to before 2014. Right now it seems that the development for Gensokyo Warfare is temporarily paused, which is a shame, but I'm hopeful that the community will move forward. Again, I don't really know anything about this game or community, but I am amazed to see this amount of dedication and documentation for it. So, outside of those wikis, Touhou tends to show up on wikis a lot. It makes sense, being that the impact of the Touhou project on the internet is comparable to the impact of Asian carp on my mental well-being. I will never drive a boat on the Missouri River again. So let's hit a couple of the cameos that Touhou has made on non-Touhou wikis, shall we? Of course, the first place to start is the video games wiki. Being that Touhou is a video game, I would expect to see it here. Unfortunately, there is only a single Touhou article on this wiki, and it is for Touhou 14, Double Deal in Character. The page describes Touhou 14 as Touhou game. Well, props to this article for being the most accurate of any wiki I've gone through so far. One website where I was surprised to find Touhou is on the Giant Bomb wiki. The front page does a really good job of summarizing the history of the project, and it doesn't really seem to be copy-pasted from any other wiki either. The site even breaks down each official game, many major characters, and a slew of fan games too. What I was most impressed by on this wiki is the amount of fan images for some characters. Many characters from the earlier games have well over 100 images attached to their pages, nearly all of which have been contributed by one single legendary user, JLerm01. This user has contributed 30,803 images to the site. All of this over the course of just under 5 years. This user's goals are beyond our human comprehension. This user is doing God's work out here. It's been over 8 years since their last contribution. I wish them well in whatever life has given them now. JLerm01, if you're out there, and you hear me, I just want you to know, I'll make sure the world never forgets your contributions. Touhou also makes an appearance on the Arc Linux wiki, which is very necessary for Linux users as it requires about an associate's degree in computer sciences to install a single program. Seriously, there are so many steps here, it's kind of insane. But hey, I guess for people that want to swear by Linux, this is your one-stop shop. I think. You might actually need more than this, I don't know. Oga Shrugs is a bizarre wiki, because in a way, it's kind of an alternate reality wiki. It documents games from the perspective of an alternate history on video games. And as a result, many of the game articles on here are accurate, but with a very few deliberate changes. For instance, in this universe, the Touhou games are all published directly to the Nintendo eShop. And outside of Japan, they are published by Rising Star Games on both Nintendo and Sega consoles. It is a very interesting take on the Touhou project, and it makes for an interesting thought experiment. The Tropedia is a bizarre wiki. It's kind of like the Fandom.com equivalent of TV tropes. It does a pretty good job of breaking down a lot of the commonly used tropes in the Touhou series, such as cute monster girls, magical lands, BBEGs, and fantastic racism. There are a lot of tropes on this page, and it actually does a really good job of distinguishing between fanon and canon as well. The only issue I really have with it is that some of the tropes don't distinguish between fan works and the original series. But for most of these, it does cite the original work, so a single click can clear up that misunderstanding. Also, this wiki lists Zune under the nice hat trope, so it is a 10 out of 10 in my book. It's really no surprise that Touhou shows up in the manga wiki. As one would expect, all the official print works up to Wild and Horn Hermit are present, as well as all the games up to 10 Desires. But unfortunately, it seems to have been abandoned since sometime in 2011. It even has some official works that I did not know about, like the epilogue story of Seasonal Dream Vision, which was written by Zune. Most of the info regarding the project, its community, and its creator is correct, so I can give them props for that. Otherwise, the article isn't very good. It has a lot of missing images and poor formatting. All in all, it does a good job of being a cameo article, but it seems to have been left behind in the dust. Perhaps one day, a brave hero will appear to update the article with over a decade's worth of new content, but one can only hope. Speaking of heroes, Reimu managed to make an appearance on the Heroes wiki. And I mean, while she certainly is a protagonist of the series, I'm not sure that the term hero is exactly what I would call her.
You should kill yourself now!
She is also classified as a pacifist and an egalitarian, which are most certainly not the case either. One weird detail in the article is that Reimu is, quote, voiced by Rina Sato, which, ignoring the fact that the Touhou project doesn't have voice acting, it doesn't even seem to be the correct voice actor. I couldn't find any Touhou fan works that Rina Sato voiced in, so I think the article is actually referring to Satomi Sato, who voiced Reimu in Fugishi no Gensokyo and Genso Wanderer. It also proudly proclaims that Miko Hakure is part of the Reimu family, even though the name Miko Hakure just means Hakure Shrine Maiden, and it's also a fan name for Reimu's mom, not a real character. It also lists Kakami Hakure as a family member, who I assume is from a fan work, but I've never heard of it before now, so I have no idea. Overall, this page has a lot of mixing of fanon and canon, and it isn't a great source of information. But at least it's mostly up to date. Now, of course, the existence of a hero's wiki implies the existence of a villain's wiki, which actually happens to have an entire category for Touhou characters. The villain's wiki has a pretty large list of antagonistic characters from throughout the series, some even as recent as Touhou 17. It even has a couple of characters that are original to fan works, which I think is pretty cool. As expected, this wiki has a lot of the same problems that the hero's wiki has, mainly mixing together a fanon and canon. For example, it seems to agree with the common fanon idea that Flander is locked in the basement against her will. This isn't really true. While she's been in the basement for a very long time, it's clear that she's allowed to leave whenever she likes. She just doesn't feel the need to because it's cozy down there. Side note, I think it's absolutely hilarious that Nue is both on the hero's wiki and on the villain's wiki. It really shows the duality of the little trickster. At least this wiki tends to list the voice actors with the fan games they appear in. But anywhere that heroes and villains meet, there are going to be a lot of battles. So naturally, Touhou has a pretty sizable presence on the Versus Battles wiki. The Touhou category has 187 articles, which includes nearly every character up to Touhou 16. The article for the Touhou project starts off by telling you to go read a better wiki, linking both the fandom.com wiki and the Wikimedia site. So props to them for citing sources, albeit secondary sources. There are also a couple of weirdly specific details. The section on fairies say that they aren't yokai, they're something else. Even though the Perfect Memento article for fairy literally calls them yokai. Hey, didn't you say that Oni aren't technically yokai either? Shut the fuck up, I didn't ask you. Anyways, the formatting of the website is pretty bad. There are a lot of mix and match fonts, the headings vary in size, and the romanization is inconsistent. I also find it kind of weird that they don't use any official art for the profile pictures of the characters, instead insisting on using this faux Alphys style fan art. Sometimes they even use fan art for characters that have literally been drawn by Alphys. I don't get it. This website sucks, but we have a lot more to get on through, so let's just keep going. Another very similar battles wiki is the Death Battle Fanon wiki. I get the idea that this wiki just kind of exists for all the people in the comments saying, oh, you should totally do this, to have some sort of creative outlet. There are a couple of Touhou characters on here, but most of them don't have much interesting information, so I don't really have much to say about it. It's really just Touhou characters that people want to see fight non-Touhou characters. A similar wiki is Omniversal Battles wiki, which is like the Versus Battles wiki, but if it was written by a 4-year-old describing how his Power Ranger toy could totally beat up the other Power Ranger toy. Unlike the other battle wikis we've seen, this wiki has fat fucking Touhou titties, for some reason. The page for Junko even has an entire paragraph of made-up abilities, and her speed description says that she easily exceeds the Watatskis, even though Toyohime's main ability is instant transmission, but whatever, you know. I also find it funny that this article is so insistent that Junko is more powerful than the gods and any Lunarian, because, you know, she did in fact fight the Lunarians once, and she fucking lost. I think this wiki has served its purpose in being an entertaining read, but I think that's the best I can say about it. Now, if you've been studying up on your Touhou lore, watching my videos, you might feel in the mood for playing a tabletop RPG set within the world of Gensokyo. If so, then the D&D wiki has you covered. There's a category for Touhou pages, but none of them really go into the lore of the project. It's all just 5e homebrew. Bad 5e homebrew. Like, oh hey DM, can I play as this super cool half Satori race I found on the D&D homebrew wiki? It only has 3 ASIs, 3 free proficiencies, that thing that people think they can do with passive perception, dark vision, okay I guess everybody gets that, but you can also cast detect thoughts at will, with no action, and no save. And the target does not know that they have been probed! This sucks. Touhou D&D sucks. Just play Exalted and Gensokyo instead. A place I did not expect to find Touhou is on the Logopedia, which has 1 image for Touhou. And it's wrong! This isn't even the official logo. This is! The Wikimedia Commons page for Touhou actually gets this one right, surprisingly. I don't even know where this other logo comes from. I think the author just literally made it up. I have nothing to say. I'm once again angry at strangers on the internet. I haven't been outside my home since 2019. Now, somewhere where I would absolutely expect to see Touhou is on the Miku Miku Dance Wiki. Touhou MMDs have been a huge part of the subculture in the fandom for a very long time, so it makes sense that it would be a massive category on here. It has 280 items, though most of these are duplicates or cover the same character, and a number of them are Yukuris, so it doesn't really cover all that many characters. This wiki mostly breaks down the character models, not necessarily the characters themselves, so there isn't much in the way of juicy fandom to dissect. But it is a good resource if you use MMD, I guess. Man, why does the Manticore Cherno model look like that? Touhou has a page on the Siva Gunner wiki. It makes sense that it would show up here, since Siva Gunner has produced a number of high-quality rips featuring Touhou motifs, mainly Bad Apple, Beloved Tomboyish Girl, and You and No One Was Her. You know, the meme songs. Touhou actually shows up on Siva Gunner a lot more than I realized. In fact, there are so many Touhou rips that the Siva Gunner wiki has a category page to break down the category into subcategories based on the game OST or Dojin circle that was referenced in the rip. It also breaks down the Siva Gunner Touhou album titled Somewhat Responsive to Requests, which is just great. I love it. I guess you could consider Siva Gunner a Dojin circle in that case. A minor cameo Touhou makes is on the Smash Brawl Custom Content wiki. There isn't a lot here, just a single paragraph explaining what Touhou is, with a link to the Wikipedia article, and links to a handful of Brawl mods that have Touhou tracks in them. Good if you're looking for that kind of thing, I guess, but not really a starting place for anyone that doesn't already know about the Touhou project. Speaking of Touhou mods, Cherno shows up on the Friday Night Funkin' wiki. I guess it makes sense, both are properties that are heavily reliant on music and fan-driven content. So it's only so long before someone would combine the two. The page contains minimal information on the character herself, since its main goal is to break down the mod. I've never played the game, but the mod definitely seems to have a lot of passion put into it. And it has an array of very good looking sprites and a handful of funny community references. It even says that the mod was released on the 9th of September, which is just great. Say whatever you want about the game, but you have to admit that the modding scene is very talented and dedicated. Now, an equally dedicated but far less talented community is the Go Animate community. If you don't know about Go Animate, I envy your innocence, which I am about to destroy. Go Animate is an animation software that is more popular as a meme than as a viable artistic tool. It's essentially the Windows Movie Maker of animation, and it looks terrible. Nevertheless, people use it, and there's a wiki for breaking down popular Go Animate characters. A handful of Touhou characters show up on here with minimal descriptions, some even including the nightmare-inducing Go Animate renditions of such characters. Yukari's page even breaks down her role in the Go Animate realm, which is an anti-hero— What? There's lore? What do you mean the Go Gang series? Why is there a Go Animate cinematic universe? I feel like I've just gazed into an alien abyss and seen a face. I will choose to look away and act like nothing ever happened. Let's just take a complete 180 and look at something completely unrelated to cleanse our mouths of that foul revelation. Considering that shipping has always been a big part of Touhou's fandom, of course Touhou would be inscribed upon the annals of the Euripedia. It has a surprising low number of entries, and the ones that are present have very little content, almost none of which is canon. The spelling and grammar are really bad, and there is a lot of missing information. Every character also has a list of Yuri feats, most of which are either pulled from fanon or just pointless. Fellas, is it gay to have friends and hang out with them? None of the art used from the character pages is official either. I find it so hilariously funny that all of Yukari's Yuri feats are pulled from fanon, and they didn't even bother to mention the time in Bohemian Archive when she hits on Aya. Every character also has Yuri statistics, which are entirely pulled out of the author's ass. For instance, Marissa is ranked with 8 gayness, 9 boldness, 7 commitment, and 3 lewdness. I hate this. I hate this so much. Let's go, please. Please can we leave? A very random and tiny cameo I found was on the database wiki, which claims the bold title of Everything You Need to Know, which I kind of doubt, considering that there are only 18 pages and 5 of them are Eddsworld. There is a page for Touhou on there. I can't imagine why, but Fandom.com says this page was copied, so there isn't really much of a point to being on this wiki. The page for Touhou just gives a few sentences of description on the series and then lists every game. Not a whole lot to say, I'm just baffled by this wiki's existence, and its purpose in the grand scheme of the universe. But hey, if you want to know about Eddsworld, I guess the database wiki has you covered. Now, a database you can count on is the Mugen database wiki. This wiki covers the Touhou project and a number of its characters that have shown up in mods for Mugen, which is sort of like a universal fighting game framework. This wiki actually kicks ass. It looks great, it's super well organized, and it has a lot of really good information on the characters it features. Most of the characters are broken down into which mods they appear and what creators publish them. It even includes download links to where you can try out the mods for yourself, so if Mugen's your thing, they definitely have you covered. Mugen also has a page for Gensokyo Reloaded, which is a very popular mod that even has its own wiki. The Gensokyo Reloaded wiki is also fantastic. It has full breakdowns of every character, including sprites and frame data. I tip my hats to the creators of this mod and the creators of the wiki. You've all done a fantastic job. Now contrast that with the travesty that is the Other Titles wiki, which is a wiki for the Other Titles board on GameFAQs. It's about what you'd expect for a wiki run by users of GameFAQs. That is to say, it sucks dick. But not in a good way, like in the harsh and toothy way that makes you regret going to the frat party in the first place. As per the usual shittery of the Touhou community, the guide recommends that you start with Touhou 6, which is terrible advice if you want someone to stick with the series. The guide also recommends that you download hentai, so I think that's about all you need to know about the people that wrote this page. Apparently there's an issue with off-topic pages on this wiki, so they included a screenshot as proof that Touhou is on topic, which has been removed. Excellent. A weird wiki that just baffles me is the Sarag wiki. Sarag? 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 It claims to publish over 100 articles daily, so I guess I've managed to catch it on the second day of its reign as the swiggity-swaggitiest wiki to fall on the earth. This is like the database wiki, but if it was written using mid-2000s MLG lingo and meme culture. Which I guess makes sense, considering it hasn't been updated since 2014. The Touhou page is surprisingly comprehensive, although most of it is copy and pasted from other wikis. It covers all the games up to the publishing date, and it also breaks down some of the plot of the series and its community and memes. Not much to say on its original content, since there isn't much of it. But the Touhou page is there, and it's a decent explanation of the series. I just can't imagine why anyone would be learning about the Touhou project here, instead of like, anywhere else. Brace yourself, it only gets weirder from here. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what the point of the Duck Pond wiki is. I guess it's the lore of a Discord server, which is kinda cool, I suppose. Active Discord servers have some crazy history at times, so a fandom wiki is a pretty good way to document the goings-on of a server. I guess that the Duck Pond had some connections to the Touhou project, as it has a page for it. It seems that most of the info written here was written by hand, so compliments to the author for at least getting a lot of things right. It seems that the Touhou project was mostly relevant to the Duck Pond because of Fumos, and the Cheer no Fumo even has its own page. Apparently, a Cheer no Fumo even served as the vice president of the server for at least one term. So proud of her. But yeah, this wiki's weird. I guess you would have had to have been there to understand it. I have saved the worst for last. Have you ever heard of a TV show called Burngo Berry? You haven't? Well, maybe that's because it doesn't goddamn exist. But yet there is a wiki for it. A wiki with 1,321 pages. What the hell even is Burngo Berry? The About page has nothing on it. But there is a page for the Burngo Berry TV series, which apparently was created by Robin Williams post-mortem. It aired on Comedy Central and MTV? I kinda don't believe that. The series was created by Eric and Kimberly. Who the fuck are Eric and Kimberly? Look at this list of voice actors. Look at the list of characters. What the hell is Burngo Berry? It's on the Go Animate wiki, so I guess it's a Go Animate series. There are 3 YouTube channels for Burngo Berry, and all of the episodes are broken into 10 to 20 parts that are barely a minute apiece. Who the fuck is making this? The Burngo Berry pilot episode has fewer than 200 views, and the main channel only has 10 subscribers. So I have to believe that the entire 1,300-page wiki is curated by one single person. Now, at this point, you might be shaking in your boots thinking, Mega, why is this wiki on this list? Well, dear viewer, I am so sorry to reveal to you that there is a category for Touhou characters on the Berry wiki. This category has 164 items. It has all of the major characters up to Touhou 17, and even includes some of the Seiho characters. Why, might you ask? Because Touhou appears in Berry. Look at this! Look at this screenshot and tell me there is a god! This video has 9 views, and 5 of them are from me! Why does this exist? Why is Reimu in there? Why does she cry with a stock baby sound effect? Why does her wiki say that she's 21 and friends with Honey Rider? Berry Reimu isn't real. It can't hurt you. Berry Reimu. I'm gonna do it. I'm really gonna do it this time. I'm going insane. What the fuck is Berry? Why does it exist? What the fuck is going on? Okay, so what did we learn today? Well, Fandom.com sucks ass. Just use the media wiki, and please, 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 act like none of the rest of this exists.